Welcome back, everybody. We're here for another episode of the Prospect, Produce, Prosper podcast with Marc Rogers. Marc, glad to have you here with us.
Thanks, James. I know it's a tongue twister, but excited to be with you, man. It's been a while. Things have been just going crazy with not only in the markets but marketing itself for advisors and producers. Prospect has been just going crazy. So I'm excited that as we get into summer, that you and I are going to be reintroducing this podcast. We'll call it season 2. And excited to have you as co-host, man. We've been talking about this for a long time, so I'm excited.
Now, you just got done at least a couple months ago now with your guys' annual Prosper Summit live event. You want to talk about that for a little bit? That was a great event.
Yeah, it was so much fun. This is I've been going to these type of events for a really long time, and so when you think about as you build your company and the style of these type of events that you want to really bring and provide to people, each year I think we'll kind of have a theme, and this year's theme was not so much how to get in front of people, but I think that the other part of where advisors really lack or struggle with is the close. And so the majority of the 2 days was spent on bringing experts in to help perfect and help advisors become more effective in front of their investors and close more business and ultimately help them make more money in the given year that they're trying to accomplish their goals on. So it was great. What a beautiful atmosphere coming out of Mother's Day weekend in Scottsdale. So the weather was beautiful. Brand new hotel, Caesars Republic opened up a beautiful hotel. So that was fun. We did Pop Stroke, which is kind of new to the scene. And that was so much fun. Got to test people's skills out on the putting green there and see if they can hang with the Tiger Woods track, which was fun. And then we had 2 days worth of just valuable content. I felt like, and we finished the night second night with the tribute band. DSB stands for Don't Stop Believing. They're the Journey tribute band, and I thought that was a home run. So, you try to be unique and different, as there's lots of events that advisors contend that they can go to every month. But so you try to do something unique and different. I think we did. I think it was a home run.
Yeah, I think it was great too, at least from the feedback that I've gotten as I've talked with a lot of the advisors post event. They loved it. And so for our listeners who are tuning in, if you guys are interested in an amazing 2-day event where you can learn how to grow your practice, you guys need to come to our Prosper Summit live events next year. Dates to be determined. We'll get those out for everybody, but it really is an event where you can network, where you can see what other people are doing that's successful, and learn some great tips and strategies to hone in your guys' craft. Again, this year was really about the sales side. Year before was a lot about the marketing, and next year we'll see what we decide to do it on. But
it's been fun. What normally the Prosper Summit should be kind of that kickoff event. We went a little late this year in April because of the construction of the new hotel. We were kind of at the mercy of the hotel and timing. But how we're trying to organize, as we get a ton of feedback that advisors are like thirsting for more mastermind groups and small coaching programs and things like that. Prosper Summit should really be a kickoff where we recognize the previous year and recognize those top performers, and then really lay out the fundamentals of what this year should bring. So whether there's new industry information that needs to be shared, down to processes and systems that we think should be valuable. And then throughout the year, advisors should be able to look for more regional, us coming to you, doing more 1-day training events. And we should talk about our baseball traveling, America this summer. We'll have a road show kind of going on with hands-on training there. We'll have an online group, mastermind group that is entitled, Fast Start, Close More. This is a whole online coaching program that will always be ongoing. And then we'll have 2-day boot camps at our Scottsdale headquarters where advisors can fly in and really dive into the weeds. So we're trying to, James, answer what I think is kind of a lost art in our industry, where we can gather together, we can share ideas, we can grow and prosper together. And then as you go out into your individual offices, that you kind of have something throughout the year to constantly look forward to or participate in, so that you're sharpening those tools throughout the year, you're making yourself better, and you're getting to interact with your peers. When you become an individual independent advisor, when somebody chooses that for themselves versus having Merrill Lynch on the front of their office or Raymond James or something like that, really, right? You kind of are signing up for sometimes a lonely world. And we at Producers Prospect want to be that olive branch that when you come into our firm, you're really going to get a chance to interact and work with peers across the country. We're sharing ideas. We're really building that culture, which I think is unique and different. And the way that we're building it is through our elite and Hall of Fame advisors. So every year we take our top producers and we introduce them as elite advisors. And we got these really cool jackets. You get a jacket, Letterman jacket, and then every year we'll put a couple of advisors into the Hall of Fame that we feel like are owed that. When you put on that jacket, what you're not only saying is, hey, I'm dedicated to Producers Prospect, I'm dedicated to my clients, I'm dedicated to the industry, but you're also dedicated to making your trade, being the very best that you possibly can, and then allowing others to learn from you. So you'll see as we do these educational or these training events throughout the year, we'll always have a kind of a peer top advisor, elite advisor, Hall of Fame advisor that's going to attend, that's going to be talking about what they're doing to be successful. And I think when we look at these type of events, that's where we learn the most. Certainly that's when I know I learn the most, is when I really have that interaction from my peer. So I couldn't be more. There's so much to talk about. There's so much coming up that advisors can participate in, and ultimately we just want to be unique and different, and give back to this great industry, give back to the opportunity that we have to help Americans retire safer, more comfortable, and help them weather the storm with all that's taking place right now.
This is a great segue actually, because the topic that we wanted to talk about today is branding, digital branding. And what's been interesting is from the summit and some of these events that we've done, it's clear to see that there are some advisors who are successful that have great brands, and other advisors who maybe haven't seen as much success. When you look at some of the initial phases of that prospect, produce, prosper concept, they haven't nailed in the digital branding. I was on a call with one of our advisors just a few days ago, where he was talking about how he wanted to be known as this authority figure, but he had no. I asked him, I said, well, what are you doing right now to be seen as that type of authority figure? He really wanted to headway into the Roth conversion space, and he really wanted to be the expert there. And I said, okay, well, what are you telling people? And I don't mean in a meeting, I mean in your marketing. How are you building awareness around that? And as we dug into it, there really wasn't anything that was being done currently. And I think this is a huge area where advisors sometimes fall short in building that brand and that legacy that they want to with their business, is nailing the first components of their digital brand. You've worked with tons of advisors over the years. You've been an advisor. You are a producer yourself too. So you've seen and you know the importance of this. What are some of the issues that you're seeing with advisors today?
That's a great way to start this conversation, because I feel like we all have our own unique challenges. And then when you just like a survey or anything else, you end up finding out that most of your peers are having the same challenge. And just like we talked about before, where you've made the choice of being, you know, Rogers Financial or whatever your kind of firm that you have, you've made the challenge that You don't have the big, familiar name or the in the strip mall, you know, office space that you're in a massive office or something that doesn't have the outside household name. And that's a massive challenge, right, James? Because you're competing as an individual with these massive brands and companies that are just willing to spend so much money to weed out, right? The companies like these massive firms that in the middle of Super Bowl commercials, there they are. Or they're sponsoring, any type of professional golf or whatever it is. And then it's not only them in your own profession that you're fighting against, but the reality is you're fighting with Target and Walmart and everything else that's just popping up in our face everywhere we turn. So I think that the biggest challenges for most advisors is one, it's so overwhelming they don't know where to start. One. Two is they may be the best advisor in the country, but most people don't have an experience that meets the same standards that they have when you walk into their office, right? I walk into some of these just beautiful, gorgeous offices with staff members that are dialed in and they have this unique experience that you're like, man, if people only knew how amazing it was to come and work with you and have you as their advisor. And then you go to their website and somebody did it for free, or their cousin who also is a mechanic decided to build their website for them. I mean, there's a massive disconnect, right? So, what I try to really teach of one, where to start is let's unify that experience. Let's make that experience look just as good of what you're trying to attract. Is messaging on story? Can your ideal person that you work with, can they find you? Can the story be told that's going to attract them of why they want to work with you or be with you? And then lastly, does it uniform? Is there purpose to it? Because the other major challenge that I see out there is what to post. Okay, now that I've got my website up, now I've got my socials up, what do I even put out there that people would want to see? And we think that we feel funny and awkward to kind of sit in front of a screen and try to give content out. And what do I even say? How often do I post? Compliance. Will compliance get mad at me for doing this? Okay, I don't even want to hassle with compliance, Mark, so I don't want to do it. Well, that's the wrong way of thinking, right? But yet, so advisors need a track to run on to know that, okay, here's the game plan. Here's what I need to be aware of. Let's not ad hoc. Let's actually have a system. Let's make it very specific. Let's be methodical. Let's be consistent in everything that we do, right? And then allow people like you and I and our team, let us work with your compliance officer. Let us make sure that we're watching your back when it comes to content and marketing and all of that. And that's what leads me and probably to the last major challenge is time. Mark, I don't have the time to do this. And you're like, it's okay, but what if once a month for you dedicated an hour to doing this? Does everybody have 1 hour out of their month to dedicate to something like this? If it was all laid out and scheduled out, then every advisor's in for it. So I think that those are the biggest things, James, as we have this conversation to kind of lay it out and how we can be a real value to people. It's where do you start? Do you have a plan? Who's the plan geared towards? Is it the right person? Does it match with everything? And then, how do they navigate the waters of compliance and all those other things?
So let's talk about that for a second, because I think it's a very real concern that advisors have. I mean, in conversations that you and I have had with plenty of advisors, we've had dozens over the last couple weeks, where we've talked with advisors about these very topics, and some of these same concerns that you just voiced are the concerns that they're bringing up. Mark, I don't have time. Mark, I don't know where to start. Mark, is there even any point to it because compliance is in place or whatever? Where does somebody start? If you're an advisor out there, because the reality is, as much as we may say, I don't have time, I don't understand it, I don't want to do it, we're in a day and age where information is flying off the shelves, whether it's true or false. Information is flying off the shelves everywhere. So they're going to get information somewhere. And while the big huge companies will probably beat you in their marketing budgets, they won't beat you in the customer service side of things. And that's where you can win all day long. But where do you start? I mean, when we talk about digital marketing and digital branding, there's things like websites, designs, search engine optimizations or SEO, there's social media, there's podcasts like what we're doing here, there's drip email marketing, there's branding materials, there's so many different types of things. I mean, not to say anything of like testimonials or Google reviews, which now are actually allowed, and every advisor should be going after those like wildfire. Where does somebody start? Where do they make the first moves to really hone in on this concept? Because the reality is they are needing it.
There's a comment in the book Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever begun, right? And that comes with a plan. So, where does a plan begin? When you sit down and you bring on us, gosh, I hate to say it, us or somebody that really understands marketing, and not just marketing, but financial advisor marketing, which is truly unique and different than any other market I think out there. But so it starts with the plan. We got to do an audit, a brand audit. And when I think about what you and I have done with other advisors of really sitting down and digging in and having a conversation about their why and their purpose and who they're really trying to help and what goals they're trying to accomplish, not only in their own lives, but in their investors' lives. Once you can start with that, right? So I think it's who you help is every much just as important of how you help. And that's got to be work one on one together, right? In all aspects of your marketing. So, getting a brand audit, I would say, is the first call to action. Having somebody really get in and dig in to all things what you have today, because chances are you probably, as an advisor, have had several people come in and build. One person built your corporate brochure, and the other person built your website, and the other person set up your social media sites. And so normally there's all these different messages that aren't concise and consistent and all those things that we look for in a brand. So start there, right? And start with the end result in mind. I think that too many advisors go with the aspect of, hey, I just want anybody that can fog a mirror, they can become a client. And the reality is that we all have that old 80-20 rule. 80% of our business comes from 20% of our clients. And if you think about it, if you just honed in on duplicating your best A client and all your meetings and all the new people coming into your office, if they were just your ideal person, how much happier would you be as an advisor? How much more money could you make because you're duplicating that 20 percentile over and over and over again? So when it comes to brand and brand experience, why are we trying to market to the masses when you probably help this type of person just better than anybody else? And if you were to just replicate that over and over again, put it on the conveyor belt every day, walk into the factory, flip the switch on, turn the machines on, and they start going, it makes you more consistent. It makes you happier. It makes you actually have a lifestyle and things to work around because you can be more consistent with the type of advisor that you are. So I think that too many times advisors are chaotic, right? And they bought into I can control my schedule and I can work when I want to work and not work. And then the reality is that they sit there at their desk banging their head against their desk, so frustrated and overwhelmed because they're totally unfocused and unorganized and don't have a system and process in place. And so I think one, starting with that audit, thinking about the end result today when you begin, being able to understand who your ideal client is, what you do for them, like what your value add proposition is, and then making sure that that same experience, attraction process, and systems work in all different places of your business, from your office to your educational or dinner seminars, to your Facebook, to your LinkedIn, to your website. And all those things need to collectively work together in harmony to really focus on your results.
First off, I'd never heard that quote from The Art of War. That's brilliant. The war is won before it even starts because of the plan in place. And I think there's two components to this really. One is yes, having a plan. The other is just being committed to doing at least something. I think where a lot of overwhelm comes in is when advisors, and this really, I mean, it's not just for advisors. This is really probably for every business out there who's trying to build a brand, but that is when they look at everything that could be done, it's overwhelming. It seems so overwhelming. Well, I got to have a website. I got to have social media. I got to be doing videos. I got to do podcasts. I got to do emails. I got to do this, that, and the other. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. And the analysis paralysis begins to set in. And the end result is that you don't do anything. And that couldn't be, there's nothing worse than doing nothing. Um, there's also, you know, there's nothing worse than trying to do everything and not doing good at any one of them. And so I think being able to create a plan, one, not only creating a plan, but a simple plan, at least to start. And then just deciding, okay, we are going to nail one or two things and we're going to create a system to just get those things done. What you'll find is that by doing that, even if it's imperfect, like I have an advisor I was talking to 2 days ago where he is stuck on his content because he has to see everything. He has to analyze everything. And he's hired us to help create this content, but then he changes everything that we do and he rewrites everything that we do. And it's not rewriting for better. It's just rewriting more technical, which often isn't better for marketing. And I tell him, look, you are analyzing this so much that by the time it gets put out there, it's going to fall flat on its face. Just put it out there, see what the response is like, and then go and refine if need be. But the exercise of just committing to doing something and just being willing to get it out there actually makes you a better creator, a better producer, a better, like, you're not going to become the best salesperson by all of a sudden being the best salesperson. You've got to go through sales meetings. You've got to work through the objections. You've got to understand the products and do that multiple times to be the best. You've done seminars. You've done 100 seminars every year for the last several years. You didn't get to the point of being a great seminar presenter overnight. You had practiced this for years and years and years, and you fine-tuned it, and now you have a system that works. That's, I think, what advisors need to realize is create the plan and then just go do something. Pick one or two things and just execute.
Yeah, Jim Collins, famous author, wrote a book called Great by Choice, and he talks about a you know the specific, methodical, and consistent. The acronym SMAC: specific, methodical, and consistent. And he talked about these massive companies like Southwest Airlines and others who took this approach. And what we can learn, you boil this book down to these words: stick to the recipe that works. Just stick to the recipe that works. So when you think about it, marketing can be overwhelming. Website design, SEO, what's my social media strategy? What are my email campaigns? Personal branding versus content marketing. oh my gosh, what video content? Like, where do I begin? But if you had a brand and a brand experience that started with specific, methodical, and consistent, now everything becomes so much easier, right? I think advisors too often want to think that they have to bring something new every week. Hey, what this week? I'm going to call my clients. I need something new to say to them. Mark, what's the newest, latest product or what's the latest strategy that's out there working? But when you look at the most successful advisors, they have a model that they stick to and they rinse and repeat, stick to the recipe that works. They just rinse and repeat over and over again. And that doesn't just mean of what they're saying, but what's the messaging all out and around. So let's just give an example. An example could be like Mike Strickland is one of my biggest advisors in the country. He works really well with CPAs. And specifically, he lives in the world of pension planning. So, the way that his model works is that he will go to CPAs across the country and he will market to them about building a partnership together where he can be the go to resource, the guy that knows it all when it comes to defined benefit pension plans, which can be a resource to that CPA and their clientele. Now, does this mean that product is sold within that relationship? Well, of course, right? That's an end result game. But the way that Mike hooks in is the fact of, hey, Mr. Mrs. CPA, let me be the go-to for this specific business owner, and let me be the guy that helps them save so much money on taxes. Because guess what? This Mr. Mrs. CPA is going to make you look good because you're saving people money on taxes, and that's what everybody wants the Holy Grail with. So he went very specific. He's got a methodical process of how he engages CPAs through the country. Now he's got this massive network of CPAs. Mike gets the privilege of now in his business that he only takes most of his meetings, I'd say a lion's share of his meetings, he only takes by referral of the CPA. And this shows because when he does do a seminar, a dinner seminar, he'll always have multiple tables that are filled with people that he doesn't know. Maybe we fill up through a mailer or some type of invite, but the remainder of those tables are from CPAs that are bringing their clients. Most of the time, Mike has an authority figure like a CPA standing up and introducing him at the dinner seminar. So, look, it all works together through understanding who he really helps, who his ideal customer is, and how he can be consistent with that marketing. That's it. That's how people should look at their marketing today and their branding and messaging.
For Mike, even, it wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was something that he strategically planned.
Well, I know we're getting close to the end of our conversation today, and this is really more of a kickoff of season two, which I couldn't be more excited about doing this with you. I know I'm in my home in Salt Lake City. You're in your office in Mesa, Arizona. At some point, we got to be sitting shoulder to shoulder in our podcast studio that we have in our Scottsdale office. So hopefully next time we're together, we'll be in there. But I think just recapping as we kick season two off, where you're going to get a lot is this really concept of these sales ideas, processes to help you not only help you get in front of who your ideal client is, give you something to say that's really, really effective, and then help you achieve your goals, help you prosper. So prospect, produce, and prosper. That's the name of the game. And if you are looking to really fine tune your processes to finally help you accomplish the goals you've been looking to achieve, have that lifestyle that you want, work with better people that are your ideal people, tune into us. Subscribe, share our podcast with your fellow advisors that you know in the industry that are also looking to do the same. Of course, you can always reach out to us at producersprospect.com and certainly give us a call at 800-829-5526. James, I'm looking forward to taking this journey with you and helping so many advisors out there today.
Everybody better gear up. Here we come, season 2. Let's go.
Let's do it.